title of this video is not clickbait. At the age of 20, in January of 2024, I was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer, fibrolamellar carcinoma more specifically. Here's my port. That's where I get my chemo infusions in. Right now I am 21 and I'm still battling stage 4 cancer. I was supposed to be dead in February of 2024, but miraculously, thanks to God, I'm still here. In August of 2023, I started getting a lot of these symptoms that led to my diagnosis. There are 3 major symptoms that caused me to go into the ER. One of the symptoms was constant diarrhea in my stool. Every single day, it was just wet stool after wet stool after wet stool. And I knew that it wasn't supposed to be like that. So I went to go get checked. But they would never find anything. When they wouldn't find anything, I was always questioning whether or not it was just something I had or if it was just something normal. I never knew that it was going to be cancer. I never knew because I was pretty healthy. I was 174 pounds, 8% body fat. People thought I was taking steroids. And I could imagine why. Because another symptom I had was stomach bloating. My stomach made me look like I was pregnant. It was bloated out due to ascites, which is a buildup of fluid in your stomach, abdominal cavity. And this would make it very, very hard for me to eat because my stomach was getting squished by all this fluid. It would make it hard for me to do any sort of exercise that requires cardio, such as boxing, running, anything like that, because I would just feel all the water in my stomach just moving and moving. And it was just annoying when people would tap on it or just like hit it just for a joke. And it would just hurt because of all this fluid built up in there. And the most major symptom that I can tell you guys right now, that if you have this symptom, go get checked, was night sweats. But I mean, I was waking up in puddles of sweat every single night. And I could not sleep without the AC, the window open, and a fan on. And this was in the heart of like winter. This was like January of New Year's 2024. I'm telling you guys, I'm in Southern California. It gets cold in the winter. So I just had a lot of these symptoms that had led up to me getting diagnosed. And I went to get checked due to me vomiting a lot. And they would only find my liver enzymes a little fluctuated in the high areas. They did a colonoscopy on me and they found nothing in that colonoscopy. And they didn't find anything until one day in January of 2024. It was around January 14th, I think. I went into the ER due to me throwing up blood that same night. And my mom was begging me to go to the hospital, and I would not go because I had to work the next day. But she was like, come on, you have to go. I was like, all right, I'll go. I went, and the only thing I remember due to my ammonia being at like 300, which if you guys don't know, your ammonia is supposed to be at 25 to 50. If it's above that, it could cause mental issues. And when it's at a high level, where it's, let's say, 300, I could have died. But what happened to me was that I lost all my memory. I was acting like an animal, apparently attacking people. But they had me strapped down, so it's fine. So the only thing I remember from that day is the doctor telling me that I had cancer masses. And I was shocked. And another thing I do remember from that day, I lied before. There is something else that I remembered, was me freaking out and trying to escape the hospital because my brain was just not functioning. But other than that, that is how I got diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. I just got diagnosed. And right after I get diagnosed, due to the fact that I was attacking doctors and went crazy, they put me in a medically induced coma for around 3 to 4 days. When I wake up, I'm strapped down. I have tubes shoved down my throat and in areas where I used the restroom. And I was in a very, very uncomfortable position at this moment. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know if I was going to live. There was a lot I was going through in that hospital. I cried a ton. I remember me and my dad were next to each other. And the head oncologist at the hospital comes in and tells us, look, your son has fibrolamellar carcinoma. It's a very, very rare type of liver cancer. There is nothing that we can do in this hospital. None of our top surgeons want to do a procedure on him. None of us want to treat him here. And they recommended me go to Loma Linda. In these couple of days, when I'm in the ICU, just sitting there, I just don't know what to do. But I do experience some crazy things that I can't explain. But because I am a son of Jesus Christ, I am Christian. I'm going to explain it in simple terms. I heard God speak to me in my ear saying that I was going to be okay. I had a dream where I would be done with this cancer in a year. And I got diagnosed in January. I'm going to have my life-saving surgery in January. And I just saw what I think is heaven. And it was so beautiful that I can't even explain it or tell you guys how it looked like. During this time, my brother is frustrated and scared. He finds a foundation for my specific type of cancer called fibrofighters. And if it weren't for Dr. Kent and Tom doing their best to get me into the hospital and getting me to start treatment right away, I would have been dead. Going from Riverside Community Hospital, where they say they could not treat me, to a facility such as Loma Linda, which is a private hospital, it was hard to get in there because I went into the ER again. But we're going to backtrack because before I went to the ER for experiencing the same thing, which was high ammonia levels that led me into Riverside Community, we tried to go to the hospital and just get checked in right away. They didn't want to treat me at the hospital yet. And the reason why they didn't want to treat me at the hospital was due to the fact that my insurance wasn't letting them. they needed a bed for other patients, and they wanted me to be in a state of near death to treat me, which is what happened about 3 days later, where I was at home, I lost my memory, and I just remember waking up strapped down again, tubes all in my mouth. I had a needle right here, a catheter right here. They were going to do dialysis on me. I was in a coma for around 5 days this time, medically induced, of course. And it was such a hard situation. It was such a hard situation, not only for me, but for my family, that they told my brother that I was not going to live the day of. They said that, I'm sorry, your brother is going to die. I never ended up dying. And there was a crazy thing that actually happened where I had 2 visitors that were supposed to come in, and they never came in. And when those visitors never came in, about a week later, or about 2 weeks later, when I'm at home again finally, they tell my mom that, these 2 pastors tell my mom's never talked to these guys before. They told my mom that 2 angels came to help me. As crazy as it sounds, I believe it. I believe that there were 2 angels there to help me. During this time when I'm in the ICU, you're just given bland food. You're not allowed to eat as much. I couldn't sleep. I probably slept around 3 hours this whole time because I'm doing nothing but laying down. My back is killing me. I have all these drugs in me. I just don't feel good. And when I was finally able to be discharged, I was so weak because I had lost around 40 pounds. I was 174 pounds. I went down to 134 in a week. I looked so sick. I felt so sick. I couldn't walk. I had to be on a cane. When I went to Walmart, Target, or any of these retail stores, I had to use like the electric chair that you use to move around. And I just felt so embarrassed going back into the gym because when your max is 3 plates and you could bench 2 plates for like 15 and everyone's just staring at you, and you go back in there and you could barely hit a plate for 1, it kind of humbles you. This whole time in the ICU, it was such a crazy time for me. I always look back at it and just wonder how I did it. I don't know how I did it, but I had to keep pushing. Getting out the ICU, I started posting about my diagnosis on IG. And posting about my diagnosis was a very, very big help because not only was I bringing awareness to what I had, I was also helping myself a little bit financially due to the fact that I had to lose my job over this whole ordeal. I had a full-time job. And when you don't have the time to be full-time, you can't work as a full-time employee. So I had to resign. And this was a very, very rough patch in my life. Even now, financially speaking, I'm not in the best place. Even if I have 69,000 followers on Instagram, you don't make money off IG. And I actually got demonetized on IG due to the fact that I was trying to show how much chemo pills cost, which I will get to in a bit. But coming out the hospital, IG and GoFundMe. GoFundMe has been such a great help for me. I needed a lot of money due to the fact that I'm not working anymore. The treatment cost, the cost of everything else, such as food. I have to eat better. Supplements. I have to get supplements. And they're not cheap, man. And there's a lot that I have to do if I want to keep myself healthy and alive. Gym memberships aren't free. A lot of these things aren't free, and in order to keep myself healthy, I have to pay for these things. So if you guys want to support, you guys could click the GoFundMe. You guys could help by buying some of my merch, which I'm going to leave in the description. But coming out the ICU, it was a blessing, but at the same time, I realized how hard my life was going to be. I started doing chemotherapy, and before I got my port, I was using my veins for chemotherapy. You can see some needle marks here. Chemotherapy is horrible. I was on 3 chemo drugs, and one of them was called Gemzar. The other one was called oxaliplatin, and the other one is called lenvatinib or Lenvima. It's a chemo pill that has to take 8 milligrams of each day. Now, oxaliplatin was the big one. That was the one that was killing all my muscle, was killing all my cells. It made my hair straight. My hair didn't fall out, luckily. But I just felt terrible. It made me lose a lot of weight. It made me throw up a lot. I had no sense of appetite. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to live. I kept fighting due to the fact that I knew that I could make it. I just kept telling myself that I was going to beat this. My family was a major reason I kept fighting. And I keep fighting to this day. I still feel bad. The side effects aren't as bad as they were because my side effects were mostly throwing up right after I would get injected with the chemo. I would get really cold. I would get really pale and I wouldn't eat. I would cry a lot. I would have a bunch of back pain. I would have to take narcotics to ease the pain. And luckily, in July, I formed an allergic reaction to oxaliplatin, which led them to stop using it and use another form of chemo, which is not another form, it's just another variation to fight cancer, which is called immunotherapy. Immunotherapy gets your immune system and flags the cancer cells. It makes the immune system fight the cancer, and it leads to your immune system actually being weaker, which is why I got COVID recently when I was in New York, as I wasn't wearing a mask, which I should have been. But I was being ignorant and I didn't do that. But immunotherapy has been working much, much better, fighting off the cancer than the other chemotherapy. So now I'm on Gemzar immunotherapy, which is nivolumab, and I'm on Lenvima, which is another chemotherapy. And now that my immunotherapy is fighting off the cancer better than chemo is, I have a better chance of survival due to the fact that I don't have to have this very harsh chemotherapy in me. And at the same time, I was able to grow a lot of my muscle back. So now I am 156, 157 pounds. I'm going to be competing for powerlifting in January. So I'm going to be talking about that. But now I'm going to get back into the story, but now we're going to talk about a lot of the positive that has happened to me recently. Switching from chemo to immuno has been the best part of this procedure. Now I can actually fight better. I'm able to eat a lot better now. I eat mostly clean now. I don't eat a lot of fast food, fried foods. It makes me feel like sick, junk. I don't like that. I eat a lot at home. My mom makes me a lot of food. Drink a lot of soursop tea if you guys can. I heard that's really good for you. You have to want it too. You have to want to fight. If you don't have that will, you're not going to live. And that's just something that I need to tell you guys right now. If I didn't want it as much as I did, I wouldn't be in this position. I would go to the gym when I could, which was 4 or 5 days a week. I would eat as right as I could. I could be eating McDonald's, Burger King, all this right now if I really wanted to, but I'm not eating this because I know that it's going to harm me negatively. There's a lot you can do, but I'm going to talk about my lifts. I started off the beginning of the year not being able to lift a plate for squat, a plate for bench, and for deadlift, I could do like a plate and a 10. Before this, I was lifting for bench 315 pounds. My squat and deadlifts were 500 pounds. It's insane to me that in just about a week or two, I lost all of it. And I was determined to build it back up. And it took me a while. It took me a while, but I just kept pushing. I would never stop. I would never quit. And even if I didn't hit a PR or I didn't feel like I was progressing, I would still continue to go because there was nothing else I could do. And I started seeing success, and my PR currently for all three of my lifts. For squat, it is 405. For deadlift, it is 455. And for bench, it is 295 pounds. That is insane to me that I am doing this right now. My mission to you guys is to go out, walk, enjoy the sun, eat right, and work out. These are 3 things you need to live. You need this to live. And if you guys aren't doing this currently, then what are you doing right now? You're not going to live. You're killing yourself. Live, guys. Remember that we're human. We're not immortal. We have our expiration dates. And if you guys want to make that expiration date sooner, then be my guest. But if you guys want to make it later, you guys got to eat, sleep, exercise, and just live. Live happily. Have a happy life. Right now, there's a lot going on with me. In January, I'm going to have a surgery called high pec, which is a very, very insane surgery. High pec, I'm reading it from the monitor because I have no idea on how to pronounce this. Hyperthermic intraperitoneal chemotherapy, which is a surgical procedure that treats certain abdominal cancers by infusing the abdomen with heated chemotherapy drugs after removing any visible sign of cancer, which is what they are going to do to me. And I am going to have a year where I cannot lift weights. No. And this year where I cannot lift weights, I'm going to be hiking a lot, going to take in a lot of sun, and my diet is going to be super clean because I know that if my diet isn't clean, I won't heal as fast as I can. One of the things that I've learned throughout this whole ordeal is that you need to be healthy because no matter what condition you're in, you need to fight. You need to do what you can because if you don't want it, you're not going to have it. And if you want it, you're going to have it. Living throughout my 20 to 20, bro, these are my early 20s that I'm living right now. And living them while fighting cancer has changed my perspective a lot on life. I look at life more fragilely now. I see it as more important. When I see people trying to get into fights, I kind of don't understand it anymore because it will be over something so little. that I kind of laugh and just feel bad for that reason of fighting. I look at people that just look miserable with their own lives, yet they have so much. They just want it that much. You know what I mean? They just want that extra bit because how greedy humans as a species have become. But once we get hit with a terrible disease like this is when we finally understand that we shouldn't be acting like this. I didn't know that I was going to be diagnosed with liver cancer this year. I didn't know that any of this was going to happen. It was a curveball that was thrown to me, and it ruined my life a lot. But one thing I know is that my faith in Jesus has gotten stronger in this, and I'm going to keep pushing. And if you guys want to follow my journey, go follow my IG, Mr. Pound for Pound, and just support. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.